Hello everyone, this is Sarah from Japan. Welcome back to another read-along. Today, actually I haven't done a read-along in a couple days because I have terrible allergies. And I got a sinus headache right now too. I mean, it feels like the shooting pain from up my sinuses into my head. And, my nose is flaking now because of blowing my nose too much. But, I'm back and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to be obedient to doing this to the Lord. Okay, so please open up your Bibles to chapter 5 of the book of Daniel. Let's get started. All right, this is actually an interesting chapter. I love the book of Daniel. I really do. I mean, it's an awesome book with so many things. I mean, I learn something new every time I open this book. So, and there's just so many exciting things that pop up at you at different times. I don't know about you, but the Lord speaks to me, really speaks to me through the book of Daniel. And it's exciting, too, because you can compare it to the book of Revelations. And this is, it talks about the end times, which we are in right now, I mean, if you haven't noticed. If you haven't noticed, maybe that's because you're too busy being in the world and not in the scriptures, I don't know. But anyway, let's get started. There's my little girl down there. Say hello.
Hello.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
What you reading?
Nothing.
Well, show me.
Nothing.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. So anyway, and the puppy is over there. Anyway, so chapter 5, Belshazzar, okay, which is the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, okay? Belshazzar's feast. Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the gold and silver vessels, which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in Jerusalem. So, for those of you who don't, are just reading Daniel, okay, the temple in Jerusalem is Solomon's temple. I mean, because there are newer Christians probably watching this, so I just wanted to clarify that, okay? So, he had the silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in Jerusalem, okay, that the king and his princes, his wives and his concubines might drink therein. So these are sacred instruments, like the wine chalices and stuff that Solomon made for God, okay, with God's specifications. They're holy, and he's using them to party with, okay? So then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives and his concubines drank in them. Okay, they drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver and of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. So, right after he mocks the Lord by doing this, look what happens. The handwriting on the wall. I'm sure you've heard this expression. I mean, can't you see the handwriting on the wall? It means that something is very obvious, right? Verse 5, in the same hour came forth the fingers of a man's hand. Literal fingers here. This is not a figure of speech, okay? In the same hour came forth the fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaister of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. All right? Its effect on Belshazzar, the wise man, unable to interpret the writing. Then the king's countenance, his face, was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another. So his knees were knocking against each other. Okay, so this, in plain English, means he was scared out of his wits and his knees were knocking together, okay? Because he saw a hand writing on the wall. And, every once in a while, people see things that will spook you, and naturally the knees knock together, right? So, verse 7, the king cried aloud to bring the astrologers, the Chaldeans, the soothsayers. And the king spoke and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. So he's desperate for an interpretation, just like his grandfather was. He's desperate because he's scared out of his wits, and he doesn't know, he can't explain that, and he wants to know what this means, right? And so he's willing to give somebody, clothe them in scarlet, which is the king's color, right? With a gold chain around their neck, and make them the third ruler in the kingdom. That's how serious he is. Then came in see, the guy is drunk too, he was drunk when he saw the handwriting on the robe, but suddenly he's very sober now. Then came in all the king's wise men, and they could not read the writing, nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof. Then was King Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished, or stonied. That's how it's written, stonied, so it's like astonished, right? The queen's advice. Okay, verse 10. Now the queen, by reason of the words of the king and his lords, came into the banquet house, and the queen spoke and said, King, O king, live forever. Let not thy thoughts trouble thee, nor let thy countenance be changed. Don't let your thoughts trouble you. Don't change your face, and don't make a sad or scared face or whatever. So don't change your countenance. There is a man in the kingdom. Okay, so have hope, basically. In whom is the spirit of the holy gods. So she knows there's something about Daniel. She's probably heard the rumors from, the king's court, Nebuchadnezzar's court. There's a man that, in whom the spirit of the holy gods. She just doesn't understand, the source of his power here. And in the days of thy father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, was found in him, whom the king Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, the king, I say, thy father, made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. Forasmuch as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams, and showing of hard sentences, and dissolving of doubts. So hard sentences, like interpreting dreams, and hard sentences, like riddles, and dissolving of doubts, were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show you the interpretation. Okay? Belshazzar calls for Daniel. Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spoke and said unto Daniel, Art thou Daniel, which art of the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king of my father brought out of the Jewry? Okay, I have even heard of thee, and the spirit of the gods is in thee, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. And now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But they could not show the interpretation of the thing. And I have heard of thee, that thou canst make interpretations and dissolve doubts. Now if thou can read the writing, if you can read the writing, basically, if thou canst read the writing and make known to me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet, okay, and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and thou shalt be the third ruler in the kingdom. Okay, this is where Daniel rebukes the king. Verse 17. Then Daniel answered. Okay, Daniel, by this time, he's an old man, He was a very young man, and when he was interpreting the dreams for, Nebuchadnezzar. Now, he is a much older man, probably an elderly man, I'm thinking. Okay, so it's his grandson, and his grandson's grown up, so, get figure around 80-something. Okay? So, then Daniel answered and said before the king, Let thy gifts be to thyself, so keep your gifts, I don't want them, and give thy rewards to another. Yet will I read the writing. Sorry, my dog wants to give me a kiss. What is it, Choco? What is it, Choco? Oh, never mind. Okay. O thou king, Let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make known to him the interpretation. O thou king, the most high God gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom, and majesty and glory and honor. Okay, so this is what he says, okay? Your grandfather was given by my God, okay, a kingdom, okay, and majesty, glory, and honor. And for the majesty that he gave him, all the people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whom he slew, and whom he sorry. All right, and whom he would he set up, and whom he put down. And when his heart was lifted up, and his mind was hard, so when he was proud, and when his heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him, and he was driven from the sons of men. Okay, so this is the previous chapter. Okay, and his heart was made like the beasts. So he went insane. And his dwelling was with wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the heavens, until he understood, okay, that the Most High God ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over it whomsoever he willed. Okay, so that he understood that the kingdom was given to him by God, and that he didn't build it up himself, okay? And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thine heart, though thou knewest all these things. So he's saying, well, basically, you knew what happened, and yet you have not humbled your heart, okay? But has lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them. Okay, you've pretty much desecrated them, you know. And thou has praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass and wood and stone. So he's mocking God, you know, with this, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, has thou not glorified. So you've not honored God, you've dishonored him. Okay, and you've mocked him, basically. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this was the writing which was written. And this is the writing that was written, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. Okay? Daniel interprets the writing on the wall. Verse 26. This is the interpretation of the thing, Mene, okay, which is repeated twice, Mene, Mene. God has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. So your kingdom is through. Tekel, okay? Thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Sorry, I got sinuses. It's not wanting, it's wanting. Oh, okay, so thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. You know, the God of Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac, the God of the heavens, the creator of the universe. He's our God, and he, you know, looks into our hearts, and he sees what's in there. And he weighs what were our thoughts and stuff, you know? And I pray that none of us watching this, or reading this passage right now, are found wanting. Okay, you gotta pray to be found worthy to escape the things that are about to come onto the earth. Okay? So that's just, you know, something to think about here. But, you know, obviously, Belshazzar was not saved, but there are many people who are saved, yet still walking in sin, and they're going to be found wanting before the Lord. Alright, so, anyway, verse 28, Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. And that happens, that has everything to do with Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the image, okay? With the kingdoms, like the golden head and the silver part, was it chest and torso, or I think it was silver, was given to the Medes and Persians, which is King Darius's kingdom coming next, okay? Verse 29, Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. The writing fulfilled, okay? In that night, so, you know, God has commanded this, he has the writing on the wall, and that night, immediately after, this is what's happened, okay? In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. He was murdered that night, in his bed, actually. And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So King Darius is 32 years old. Okay, so according to, I believe somewhere I read in history, you know, I looked this up, that Belshazzar was killed in his bed. He was murdered. Okay? Alright, so that concludes chapter 5 of the book of Daniel. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my sinuses and pronouncing things. But I bless you all in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. I love you all. I'm out. Bye.